Hey, I'm Walt, and I'm here with another Dividend Talk video. This is going to be a very, very special video for me. I just crossed over my first major dividend milestone. All right, I just passed 12,000 in annual dividend income. What that means is that on average, every month now I am getting paid $1,000 in dividend income, and that is very, very important. Once you start hitting those high figures, it's just going to compound and it's going to get me closer to that financial freedom goal. All right. Now, in this video, what I am going to do, since this milestone has been met, I am going to go through all 29 of my dividend paying stocks. And what I'm going to do is point out how much it cost me per share to own each one of the stocks, how much I get paid currently per share every quarter, how much I get paid annually from that stock and those numbers of shares, and finally, whether I have a gain or a loss as far as capital appreciation. All right, so let's get into it. Please like the video, please subscribe. If you have any questions about any of the stocks, please leave them below. All right, the first thing I want to do before we get into the individual stocks is I just want to take a look at what the overall returns are looking so far this year to date, 1 year ago, and then 5 years ago. All right, just as some additional information, when I started this dividend investing, it was in 2020, April of 2020. The account had $800 in it. And what I was doing for the first 2 years, I was investing $200 a month, 100 every paycheck. Just for a little clarity, because I think sometimes we can think that these things can be overwhelming, but you just got to start where you feel comfortable and then grow from there. All right, so we're gonna go over here and we're gonna take a look at what our performance looks like so far. All right, so this is the performance as of July 2nd, yesterday, because today is July 3rd as of the recording of this video, and the stock market is closed because July 3rd is observing the holiday of 4th of July, which is on a Saturday. All right, so we see for yesterday a gain of 1.47%. All right, for the last month, 1.59%. So far, year to date, we have a return of 13.89%, which is, it's still, 9.98 for the S&P 500 is good, 10% for the Dow Jones. These are still very good returns, but you can see even, I say this all the time, dividend stocks can still give you great returns. All right, 1 year, 21.80%. Basically keeping on par with the S&P 500. 5 years, 101%, all right, on my money. So I am pre-taxed over the last 5 years. I have made over 100% on my money. So I just wanted to start the video off showing this so you can get an idea of what the returns are looking like, and not just looking at this balance and thinking that I've deposited that much money, because I have not deposited anywhere near that. All right, so now we're going to go and we're going to move into the fun part. We're going to go and we're going to start looking at the individual stocks and the breakdowns. All right, so first we're going to start with Target. All right, so as for Target, I have 112 shares of Target. My average cost per share is $105.80. And as of today, my total gain on appreciation is $2,734. All right. And as you can see here, every quarter for each share, I get paid $1.16, and that amounts to $519 a year that I get paid from Target. All right, so we're gonna move on to Pfizer. All right, Pfizer, I currently have 219 shares. Um, for the cost basis, it is $40.16. I am currently in the whole $3,468.62 on that investment. Pfizer is a stock that I feel like is undervalued, and while this stock is under the average price target, when it comes to my buying schedule for Pfizer, I will continue to keep buying this so it can lower my cost basis, my average cost, and grow my dividends. All right. So currently, for Pfizer, I get 43 cents every quarter for these 219 shares, and that is a total of $376.68. All right. Next, we're going to go to ABV. All right. ABV, I currently have 117 shares. My average cost is $137.04 for each one of those shares. As of today, I have a total gain of $14,511. Each share pays me $1.73 per quarter for a grand total of $809.64 for the year. All right, next we're gonna go to Universal, UVV, and this is not Universal Studios. This is actually a tobacco company. Just want to make that clear. I have 59 shares of this stock. My average cost per share is $49.38. I have a total gain so far of $132.31, and it currently pays me 83 cents every quarter for each share, and for the year I get $195.88. All right, next we're gonna go with Verizon. All right, Verizon, I have currently 105 shares. The average cost is $41.90. I have a total gain of $69.72. All right. And as far as the dividend is concerned, I get paid 70 cents every quarter for each share, and that currently pays me $297.15 annually. All right. Bristol Myers. All right. This is a pharmaceutical company. I have 58 shares. The average cost basis for each share is $49.68. I have a total gain of $490.11. All right. I get 63 cents for every share each quarter, and that's a grand total of $146.16 on the year. All right. Now we're going to move on to Federal Realty Trust. All right, this is a REIT, all right, real estate investment trust. I have 158 shares of this stock. As you can see, I get $1.13 in dividends paid every quarter for each share, and that pays me out $714.16 annually. All right, currently my total gains for this stock is $3,494.54. All right, now we're going to move on to Philip Morris. All right, Philip Morris, I have 67 shares. My average cost basis is $98.25 for each share. I have a total gain of $5,629.43. Each share pays $1.47 each quarter, and that breaks out to be $393.96 I am paid for the year. All right, next we're gonna go to VICI Properties. This is another REIT. All right, I currently have 139 shares of BICI with an average cost of $30.69. I currently have a loss of $486.64. For each share, I get paid 45 cents each quarter, and that breaks down to a total of $250.20 annually. All right. All right, the next one we have is T. Rowe Price. And I have 150 shares of T. Rowe Price, all right, with an average cost per share at $104.87. The total gain so far is $2,051.84. And as you can see, $1.30 per share every quarter, $780 every year. All right. So now we're going to go to Eastman Chemical. All right. I have Eastman Chemical. I have 94 shares of Eastman Chemical, and currently that average cost basis is $73.89. I currently have a loss on that stock at $472.75. For each one of my shares every quarter, I get paid 84 cents. That breaks out to a total of $315.84 paid annually. All right, next we have Altria, one of my bigger paying stocks. I have a average cost basis on my 332 shares of $45.16. The total gain as of today, $9,145.37, with $1.06 paid every quarter for the 332 shares, and that breaks out to be $1,407.68 in annual income paid by Altria. All right, next we have a favorite of mine, Google. Now, just as a caveat, Google is not a stock that I purchased for the dividend. This was initially a stock purchase because of the capital gain potential when they did their stock split back in 2022. It just so happened, I think around 2024, they decided to also start to offer a dividend, which is just an added bonus. All right. So, but since it is a dividend stock, a dividend paying stock, I am going to go over it. All right. So I have 91 shares of Google with an average cost basis of $114.20. The total gains as of today, $22,359.62. And for each share, Google pays 22 cents every quarter. And currently, I get paid $80.08 annually from those 91 shares. All right, next, we're going to go to a brand favorite of so many, and that is Pepsi. All right, Pepsi is one of those stocks that I was able to finally enter a position last year during tariffs, and that was 45 shares I was able to get over a course of a month or two. And my average cost basis for those 45 shares was $132.64. Right? Right now, I have a total gain of $520.88. And for each share that I own, every quarter, Pepsi pays $1.48, and that's a grand total of $266.40 on the year. All right, that's, a nice little stock there. I do look forward to owning more shares of Pepsi if it gets to the right price in the future. All right, Kimberly-Clark. I have 122 shares. All right, and this is a funny stock right here because just a month ago, my total gains and losses was in the negative, but right now it's at 1535. All right, these are one of the situations where I like to buy a stock that's underappreciated, especially when they pay dividends, and lower that cost basis. And then that way, when it starts to trend upward and get closer to that average price, I get the gains. All right. So, right now I have a total gain of $15.35. For each of the 122 shares, I get paid $1.28 every quarter, and that's a grand total of $624.64 annually. All right, now we're getting down to another very much so talked about stock, Nvidia. Now, Nvidia, similar to Google, this was a stock that I have for, and I still have both of them, for the capital appreciation down the road. All right, but they decided to also pay a dividend, which is just an added bonus. All right, so I currently have 85 shares of Nvidia. The average cost for each of those shares are $116.93. And just in case, just for a little clarity, the average cost just means how much each share cost me. So each of the 85 shares cost me on average $116. All right. Currently, I have a total gain of $6,621.51 in Nvidia. All right. And each quarter, 25 cents is paid to me for each of my shares of Nvidia, and that rounds out to $85 annually. Which, like I said, with Google, that is pretty cool, because when you buy a stock and you're doing it for the capital gain to sell later down the line once it hits a specific number, and you can still get unexpected dividends from it. To me, that's a plus. So I definitely like that. So next we're going to Chevron. Chevron is one of those companies that are going to have a lot of profits this year with the increase of gas and oil. All right. But I have 50 shares of Chevron with an average cost basis of $130.82. Currently, I have a gain of $1,918.85. All right. For each of my shares, I get paid $1.78 every quarter, and that is $356 that I get in total from Chevron at the end of a year. All right. Next, we're going to go to a stock, UPS. UPS has been in the news, not as much as lately, but definitely last year, early this year. They've been doing a lot of restructuring, and I think that their stock is a little bit underappreciated, and once it gets into that cycle again, I'm going to be buying more. All right, and I have 88 shares of it currently. My average cost basis is $121.54. Currently, I have a loss of $957.24 from a capital appreciation standpoint, but I do get $1.64 for each one of these 88 shares every quarter, and that breaks down to $577.28 annually. All right, now we go on to EverSource Energy. All right, this is a utilities company. All right, this is actually a company that I just added to my portfolio, I think earlier in the second quarter, and I have 32 shares currently. My average cost per share is $69.51. I currently have a gain of $157.92. All right, and every quarter I get 78 cents for each one of these 32 shares, and I currently get $180 annually from that stock. All right, ExxonMobil, another gas and oil company that will be seeing a huge uptick in their profits this year because of the gas increases. All right, I have 53 shares of ExxonMobil. Average cost basis $61.89. Currently $3,895.52 in gain. I get $1.03 for every share of my 53 shares each quarter. That breaks down to $218.36 annually. Now, ExxonMobil and Chevron, they should be raising their dividend later this year. It may be third quarter or fourth quarter because I don't recall them having any increases yet this year. All right, now we're going to Enbridge. All right, this is my only company. This is a Dividend Aristocrat stock, but it is the only company that is not U.S. based. This is a Canadian company. I just added this one to my portfolio the second quarter as well. And this one I have 29 shares currently. $53.67 is the average cost of each share currently. I have $11.76 worth of capital appreciation. Each share I get 68 cents, and right now I'm getting $79.34 annually from this stock. All right, MPLX, which is one of my favorite, right? This is a stock I added to my portfolio the end of last year, and I have 243 shares of it. All right, my average cost basis is $54.21. I currently have a gain of $716.82. Now, every quarter they pay me $1.07, and as you can see, why is one of my favorites. Currently, every year I would get $1,046.35 based on what I have right now. And it'll be more because, like I said, they'll do increases, and I'm definitely going to buy more shares, but that's just what it is currently today. All right, next, IBM, one of my stocks that I did buy for dividend, right? Because it has a great dividend, but it just so happened the last 2 years, they've been doing some very great growth stock type of things. So I have 79 shares of IBM. My cost average basis is $131.18 per share. They currently are paying me a dividend of $1.69 for each share. As far as my total gain, currently I have $12,509.12 for these 79 shares, and my annual income for my 79 shares is $534.04. All right, American Electric Power. This is one of the stocks that if I would have known last year, I probably would have bought more shares when it was at the price range that I liked to buy it at. But I have 50 shares of it. My average cost basis was $81.59, right? $81 was $90 was where I would have wanted to keep buying it at. But, it started to grow more than I was willing to pay for it. And I currently have a gain of $2,846.21. And each of these shares, I get paid 95 cents every quarter. And that right now pays me $190 every year. All right. Next is Hess Midstream. All right. This was actually a company that was similar to MPLX. Well, they both do the same. They're in the same line of business, but it was one of the companies that I bought late last year that I like a lot. And you can see with the 263 shares that I own of it. Currently, my average cost basis $37.46 for each one of those 263 shares. I have a total gain of $184.59. And for each one of the shares, I get paid 77 cents. Now, this is a nice stock because every quarter they actually increase the dividend, and I currently get $801.26 paid to me from it, Hess Midstream, every year. All right, 1OKE. All right, this is one that I added last year as well, and I have 62 shares. The average cost basis $76.84 with a total gain of $681.13. Now, I get paid $1.07 for each one of these 62 shares, and that pays me out $265.36. This is a stock that I'm definitely going to buy more shares of. I love the dividend, especially for that current price of $87. All right, next we're going to go to another REIT. All right, and this is OHI, Omega Healthcare. All right, I have 50 shares of this stock, and my average cost basis was $43.59. I currently have $290.45 in gains, and for each one of my shares, 67 cents is paid to me every quarter for each year, and that pays me $134 annually. All right, now we're going down to 28 and 29 of my dividend stock portfolio. And number 28 is Northwest Natural Holdings. All right, this is a utility company. I currently have 76 shares of this company. My cost basis was $37.82. I have a total gain of $904.98 currently. I get paid 49 cents for every share each quarter, and that breaks out to be $149.72 annually. All right. Last but not least, Clorox. All right. I have currently 70 shares of Clorox with an average cost of $123.17 for each share. My total gains and losses, I have a loss of $1,813.72, but I will continue to buy Clorox. I love the dividend, and I'm pretty sure that it will turn green probably before the end of the year for me. As far as total gains and losses, I get paid $1.24 for each one of the 70 shares, and that breaks down to $347.20 for the year. All right. Now, next thing we want to take a look at, as you can see here, currently $12,062.86 in dividends paid to me annually. All right. That breaks down to about an average of a little bit over 1,000 each month, which is great. All right, you can do some big things. You'll start to see some great compounding effects with that type of dividend being paid to you every month. And the last thing I want to show is, earlier in the video, before I went into the breakdown for each one of these stocks, I was showing the percentages that I've gained over my money over the last 5 years, over 100%. But I wanted to just show right now, because I did break down what my total gains and losses are for each individual stock. But collectively, if I were to, if I wanted to liquidate this account, I have a 37.22% gain, and it's $92,587.85 of capital appreciation for this portfolio, where the stocks stand today. All right. I know this was a pretty long video, but I know a lot of people were asking about what stocks I have, how much they pay me, and the number of shares. So I thought that, hey, hit this milestone. I thought it was a great idea to just go ahead and, share this information. All right. So once again, as always, if you have any questions, you let me know, and you already know I'm going to answer them. All right, please like, please share, please subscribe. And if you want to see any other information or see anything else, leave them in the comment, and I might make a video very, very soon.